Shane Thompson, test editor with Kitesurfing Magazine. I'm here with Evan Netsch from Cabrinha Kites. How's it going?
Going great. I haven't been Hood River in 2 years. It's great to be back here.
Your home base is Hatteras.
Yep.
Things are going off there today, right?
Unfortunately for me, it's really good at home at this moment. I'm not thinking about it. Yeah.
That's right. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So what's new with Cabrinha this year? What are you excited about?
I mean, Cabrinha's launched a lot of different stuff over the last year or so, and right now I guess they're kind of going to a little bit of a staggered launch where they're really focusing on, I'd say, the traditional kite gear, right? Kites, twin tips, surfboards, and a lot of that new product's coming out in February. Our existing line came out in February.
Yep.
That's going to be refreshed again this coming February. And this fall they're really focusing, I'd say, on some new hydrofoil shapes, some new hydrofoil high aspect wings.
Yep.
We have the X3, which is one of our two wing models. The X3 is coming out now, as well as the Code, which is another wingboard. So I'd say those are the main products. Yeah.
So what are you loving about winging right now?
I mean, for me, I've been kiting for a long time, so I definitely initially enjoyed just kind of like being a beginner again and like going through that learning curve.
Yeah.
And I think as the gear has progressed, initially for me it was more of just like that experience of relearning something that I enjoyed. But as the gear got better, specifically the wings and the foils, I would say, I think I really got, like in those marginal condition days, it's great. Like in really, really light wind, kite foiling. If it's absolutely nuking and going off surf, like I'm never going to give up kiting for that.
Yeah.
But on those days where it's just like, 12-meter wind day, just kind of 15 to 20, soft waves, nothing too exciting. I mean, that's where winging is like, that's where it's really fun. It takes like a pretty mellow, unexciting wave, and foiling on it's epic. And just being able to, not paddling, catch a wave 100, 200 yards out the back and just ride it all the way in and ride back out. Yeah. That's, for me, that's what I really like most about it.
You want to check out some of the wings and the wing foil?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we head over to the Code first. So this is the new wing board. They've gotten a variety of sizes. I think a 4/8's the smallest. This is the 410. Goes up to a board that's about 118 liters. So they're all kind of that little bit bigger, like floating volume board. They're kind of like just barely floating volume to like, seriously floating. I do spend a lot of time myself, like a much smaller board that I sink. Yeah. But I think for a lot of areas, especially in a little bit lighter wind, or maybe even doing some freestyle stuff, having a bit more volume, a lot of people like.
Better to go
so there. That's the Code. I mean, they made some updates on the board. Our current board in the line is the Macro, which they're going to continue with. Yeah. But the Code is just another board. It's actually coming out of another factory, just to always make sure we have enough stock to keep up with demand, because we know it's just absolutely exploding right now. Everybody's getting into winging. But they made some changes, went a little more square on the outline, they went a little bit more intense with some of the bottom shape in the board, just to try to really get nice release. Got a good handle with a lot of scoop in the bottom, because carrying your wing and your foil is it's a pretty awkward combination. A much thinner deck pads. They wanted to just kind of do some updates, and I think all the product's been evolving so quickly. It's been nice, to take a product that was, relevant 6 months ago is almost, becoming irrelevant quickly. Yeah. So it's cool to see some of those updates, dialing some of the track position, the foot strap position options. Those are all things that, the new iterations needed.
How much growth do you see, or how many more people in the water you see winging this year versus, say, last year or the year before?
Oh my gosh. I mean, if you go back like 2 years ago, it was still like questioned by a lot of people, right? They're like, oh, winging, it's, it's kind of dorky or whatever. And now you see all these people like backpedaling or whatever. So I mean, for sure here, like this is like a wing mecca kind of. I mean, yesterday there was probably at one given moment, 40, 50 wings on the water and like a couple kites. Where in past years, there have been a gazillion kites on the water. Yeah. So definitely location, condition dependent. Winging is absolutely exploding. Yeah. But I would say in general, I mean, for sure. I mean, it's just going through the roof. Yeah. And it's opening up new riding areas, right? Like all of a sudden, like if you don't have a good space to launch your kite, if the wind's gusty and marginal, winging.
Do you think that winging will help people get into the water sports, like a different demographic of people getting to the water sport?
I think so, yeah, because. And what I've learned myself a lot, like through the, e-foil industry, is there's a huge market inland that has water in these lakes and other areas, but they don't have beach access, right? You've got trees straight up to the water, or you're launching off a dock or something. And I think a lot of people too have looked at kiting, and they've maybe been a little bit intimidated just because you've got lines and you need all the space and you get worried about the, getting, going flying into the air and all these things that we know are kind of irrelevant, but to your average person, they're still a little hesitant to kite, where they look at winging and they see it as something a lot more achievable. So I've definitely seen a lot of interest from people that would never have kited, and it's really cool to see through the surf industry as well. Like guys like, Nathan Florence, and I think probably Kai Lenny's really helped bridge that gap a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of seeing that where it's like, local surfers at home in Hatteras who are interested in it.
Would never kite.
They would never kite, for sure, never kite, but they now see winging and they like that wave riding aspect of it.
Right.
So I think it's a really good way, certainly I'd say it looks like probably maybe 50% or so of the kite industry seems like those, consumers or customers are getting into winging. And that's certainly me, just looking for another outlet.
Yeah.
But I think the majority of the growth for winging is probably in a lot of areas people that would never and have never kited, which is what I like to see for sure.
The growth of water sports in general is beneficial for all of those sports. I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And hopefully for those people too, like bridge the gap and bring, expose them to kiting and get them understanding of the water and the wind and just how much fun we all have and they've been missing out on.
Exciting times. Well, we've been missing Hatteras, the last couple of years, so it's good to see you here.
Yeah, no, you too as well.
Yeah. Anything else you want to show us?
I mean, we'll touch on the wing real quick and the foil.
Yes.
I guess
check it out. This is pretty sweet.
Yeah, so Cabrinha redesigned, or not redesigned, I guess added to their line some high aspect foils. I think this one's the 1,000 square centimeters. Goes down to a 650. I've been riding 650 here a bit when it's super windy. Definitely a higher performance foil, and up to a 1,200.
That's a very novel way to attach. Hey?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so the idea with this foil is it's definitely like a wing specific foil, right?
Yeah.
Like high lift, low drag. A wing is inherently very inefficient, so you need a very efficient hydrofoil to kind of make up for that. But yeah, so their front wing is molded into the fuselage, just less drag, better, stiffer connection. And then the tail wing is molded into the rear section of the fuselage.
It's almost like you have two fuselages.
Yeah,
well,
or no fuselage.
Or no fuselage. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so fuselage.
Or the fuselage is joined to the front wing and half joined to the back wing.
Yeah, and I think the goal now is just basically minimize drag and maximize rigidity. Cool. So that's why they did that. It's definitely a nice, clean look. And I think if you're looking at foils to get into winging with, high aspect foils are the way to go for sure. I mean, you want that lift. It's less pressure on your arms. When you are pumping with the foil, you get a lot more projection and drive out of it. So I'm stoked to see, some of these high aspect foils in the Cabrinha range this year.
Very cool.
And then our wings right over here. We've got two different wing models. Let me detach this. We've got our new waist leash. We have the X3, which comes after the X2, which is our wing that kind of has this double boom feature. It gives it a little deeper draft, meant to have a bit more power, and maybe a little more power without having to. Here comes our wind. Look at you see that wind line filling right in.
Yes.
So this wing's just meant to have a lot of power. Just get up and go pull, right?
Yeah.
If you're maybe a little less efficient pumping the wing, you'll have a bit more just raw pull. It also has a little bit of a shorter wingspan as well. So if you want that more powerful wing, sometimes that 6 or 7 meter can just feel massive. So this wing, I was actually riding yesterday the 6 meter, and I'd say the 6 X3 felt about the same physical size like our 5 meter Mantis. That shorter wingspan is really nice. Cool. And they've got kind of a window here in the boom. That way, when a lot of wings out there have windows, but your main vantage point is the boom,
right?
Which blocks you. So they actually hollowed that out.
Those are pretty big windows too, eh?
Yeah. So you're actually looking through the boom,
right.
through this window here.
When you look up here, it's just going to be sky. But
Yeah.
You need to look down through there too.
Yeah, that's where I'm watching people ride, right there, and like kind of watching my path. So
That's pretty cool.
I think this wing was definitely really built around, I'd say, visibility. And just kind of low end power without feeling huge.
Yeah.
So like for myself, I like the X2, the X3 the best, and there's larger sizes.
Yeah.
And I'm going down to smaller sizes or I'm in the waves. That's when I use the Mantis.
Okay.
The Mantis, I would say, is a little bit lighter.
So what's the advantage of before you get into that,
Yeah.
what's the advantage of the waist leash versus a wrist?
I think it's just personal preference.
Yeah.
I kind of like the waist leash if I'm in the waves,
Yeah.
because if you're on a wave, if your wrist leash is on, your hand is off the wing,
Yeah.
then it just kind of gets in a way and it's, you know, limits your ability to move a little
right.
bit. So in the waves, I like the waist leash just for that reason. It's easier to swim and paddle and move
Yeah.
around.
Makes sense.
But I think it really just comes down to personal preference. Yeah. So we've got the waist and we have a wrist leash option as well. But the Mantis, we've had the Mantis in the line since this past winter. And this is kind of my go-to, I would say, in the waves, especially in the 4 and the 5 meter. It's just it's a bit of a lighter wing, drifts downwind really nicely.
Yeah.
It has a lot of power. If you know, you can really get a lot of power out of pumping the wing. Super stiff, responsive, and this is just kind of my go-to. Yeah, they've got a model with windows and without windows.
Okay.
So again, I think that's one of those option things where there's no right or wrong. It's just a preference, and I prefer the one without windows. I think just a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
If I'm in the waves. We're about to start taking off.
Yeah. Let's see who didn't think it was going to get windy all of a
I
sudden.
know. I honestly was questioning it for sure.
Yeah.
I love how it just hits here. It goes from like absolutely
Nothing.
zero wind, and
Like,
now it's blowing
They just turn on
probably
the hair.
gusting
Yeah.
25 in the
It's like
middle of the
someone
river.
just went switch on.
I mean, we look downwind. There's still nothing. There's still nothing like.
No. But
Straight
upwind,
out.
It's all caps over there.
I know. Upwind's absolutely nuking. So I think, yeah.
Welcome to the gorge.
Yeah. Everybody's been waiting around all day long, and now it's on.
Well, it's only, what is it, about 1 o'clock, so
Yeah.
we got time to get on the water soon.
There we go.
But thanks for taking us through that.